So welcome guys, welcome to our 29 DevOps Malaysia meetup tonight. So we're gonna have with Red Hat people tonight. So I hope you guys are still staying safe and staying at home and not like wandering around and like going against the SOP and stuff like that lah. So we're gonna give like a few seconds lah, and then we're gonna start. First, as usual, with the Buzzcorner, and then we bring them up after the 10 minutes, 15 minutes, for their talk. And I think they have an interesting talk with the orchestration stuff. And I think you can also ask them about the other stuff about Red Hat and stuff like that. And besides that, I think they have some vouchers to give out as well. So you probably want to stay to the end and see how you can win this voucher and stuff like that lah. I think most likely even you don't have to win, right? Probably they give you just like that to you. Who knows, right? So you better stick around, ask questions. So if you want to ask questions or any comments, just leave your comments. We can definitely see your comments on the Facebook or your YouTube. If you're watching from YouTube, so we definitely can see the comments. And then if any questions also, you can just feel free to drop it in. I will bring it up later into us during the Q&A lah. So whether for me or whether for the speakers or anything. And as usual, we're always looking for speakers, and also for just if you just ping me, you can find me on Meetup page and just ping me on Facebook or wherever you can find me, right? I think just feel free to find me and ping me lah, and we were happy to have you and organize something for you guys as well lah. So always looking for Meetup. Speakers, and definitely we're gonna do this online like until the end of the year. So not gonna be any physical meetup until the end of the year lah. At least things improve, and then we can go back to normal life and everything. Yep. And other than that, hope you guys staying sane and like don't talking to your friends, not talking to walls and stuff like that. Please stay safe and healthy, especially. Okay. And yep, hi Omar. So I can see as well. So what I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna start with the slides, intro, and then we're gonna straight away bring the speaker later lah. So right. So let's start with this. Give me a second. All right, guys. So welcome again. What I said earlier. Welcome to our 29th meetup. For this year. For our meetup, DevOps Malaysia. And tonight we're gonna have a speaker from Red Hat. So this is very unique situation. Like we actually have a speaker for Red Hat, and we have a two interesting, very talented guys. Martin Lee, who is the head of solution architect with Red Hat, and CY Tan from who is the senior solution architect from Red Hat as well. So I'm very sure that if you have got any questions about Red Hat or anything about orchestration performance or anything about any interest questions that you have, any problems you have, you want to ask them, they were happy to answer lah. So and just feel free to answer, just ask them lah. All right, guys, so let's begin. Yep. Just continue to leave your comments. We can definitely see your comments lah. So at least we know we're not talking alone, since this is like online and it's like always a suspicious in the back of your mind whether I'm talking to a wall alone or I'm talking to someone and people are actually listening, or yeah. So yes. Moving on. So as usual, this is a tech committee. So we are always on the engineers NY. So you go to there, you can join the Slack group from there. And then we have a Buzzcorner there as well, the channel Buzzcorner, where we put latest news and what's going on, any stuff in tech world that's going around the world. We just put it there, where we actually take our Buzzcorner from source the content from as well. So if you have any content, just feel free to share it there as well. And we're happy to have it there lah. So to bring it up here as well. And for meetups, so you want to volunteer, speak, you want to just have a feedback to give us, we actually appreciate any feedback. So feel free to go there and like approach us as well. So and you can also see other meetups that are happening around there lah. So when I talk about other meetup, what you can see is KLJS, Junior Dev Malaysia, and I think a couple of more like meetup also happening around. So if you want to know what a meetup is happening, you can go to devcami.com/meetups. So there's actually a curated meetups happening in Malaysia, so that you can join. So I also suggest that you guys check out Singapore's meetup as well. So especially now they're doing it online, so you can join. So it's a good opportunity where you cannot travel, so they're doing it online. You can actually see other countries meetup, how they're doing it, what their content they have and stuff like that. So it's to be a good opportunity for you guys to explore. Check it out as well. So and continue learning. And as usual, although you can comment, keep it minimal on the bike sharing part, respect the opinions, agree to disagree, be participative. So that's why comment, keep the comments coming in. So, and also I thank the speaker and the sponsors and volunteers or everyone help it out. So this is our online edition. So as usual, we still have the Q&A. No need to mute yourself because this is a default mute yourself already since we're using StreamYard. So, and again, as I repeated again, give us feedback. This is online, so we don't know what's the feedback. How is it like for you guys? And so if you would like to see a different format or different things to see, or there's any topic that you guys interest you guys, you want to like to see, we would be happy to actually try to make it happen for you guys lah. So if you have any questions, leave it in the comments. All right. And as I told you in the comment, in the session earlier and the beginning of the session, and also in the sharing Facebook as well. So we actually finally have a logo after 29 meetups. We actually finally decided to have our logo. So we came up with this logo. So this is going to be our new logo. And Sam, which is a squad organizer for DevOps Malaysia. So this is our logo gonna be. As usual, we need to have the KLCC, right? Although we have like GRX, we have the Merdeka 118, all that tall towers, but KLCC need to be there lah. So I think this is a cool logo to have around, and we're gonna see this more often lah. So and yeah, and nice colors too. So yeah, hopefully you guys like it. Otherwise, you guys don't have no choice anyway, so you guys have to like it anyway. So too bad. So yeah, let's start the Buzzcorner. So Buzzcorner, first of all, we have Bootstrap 5 as officially landed. This is quite old news actually, a few months back. So 1 month ago, I think. So you guys, if you're a Bootstrap fan, you can go check it out. It's officially available. Just check it out the link itself, and then you can start using it. But there's quite a lot of interesting, cool templates and everything, logos and with the interesting document as well that we were updated. So you can check out the Bootstrap 5. Yep. So everyone heard about this during the lockdown, everything, right? So there's a hacking going along for the ransomware, and then from there, after that, the cryptocurrency also crashed. So it's too bad. I'm sorry if anyone of you like lost your money or what. I'm sure you guys can make it back soon, so don't worry. So I think what happened is from this Chronicle part, they figured out that hacker group from Eastern Europe or something, and then ironically, they actually managed to find who hacked it, and then they managed to recover some of the bitcoins that were paid. So that's quite interesting to check it out how they actually managed to recover the bitcoin. So to further, you can go check it out the news and read it up for you. So actually, and the next one we have Sony. So I'm still trying to get my PlayStation 5. I still cannot get it, but it's so I'm kind of like hope to get the PS5 or let's see how. But anyway, they decided to integrate with the Discord chat to the PlayStation. So hopefully this is good. So Discord is gaining a lot of traction lately during this period of the COVID, and a lot of people start moving there. So you can check it out as well. So I think it's a good move by the Sony itself. Next one, we have the Basecamp. So this is actually a surprising news coming from the Basecamp side. So people are a lot of people are leaving the Basecamp, and they say Basecamp announced that they're going to ban any societal or political discussion, and when the company is supposed to be setting a lot of stuff in ahead. So this is quite controversial. So if you guys are interested in this kind of topic, go and check it out for further, see what the employee are saying and everything. So it's on Twitter and also covered by a lot of news. Since it's the old news ready for by now, it's like as you can see the date is like April 27 by now. So I think everyone knows about it by now. So next one we have a bridge, data bridge. So with DigitalOcean. So in the US, they say the customer billing data was breached. So this was a leak, but I think it's quite serious as well. So I think, but they managed to recover and like get it up and running. So get it fixed. So, but anyway, data breach is no lah. So. And next, Cloudflare coming back again. So the script and the command line is always there. So I think they covered a lot of stuff actually with the CF terraforming too. So if you're a fan of it, your Cloudflare people using Cloudflare, you can go check it out and see how you make it better for your workspace. I mean, sorry, your work. Okay, moving on, we have AWS news. So I think this is not many. It wasn't like really a lot of people are aware of this, but actually AWS introduced App Runner. So to give you a background of this, like if App Runner, if you can compare to Google's App Engine, so I put it that way. I tried this already, so it's quite okay, not bad. But still a lot of stuff features I'm missing. So to put it for the App Runner, and it's not available in Southeast Asia, so you probably going to need to go use in Japan, Tokyo region, or the US. So yeah, but it's good. You can test it out. So go check it out if you're interested. It take care of everything, so you don't have to worry about scaling and maintenance, all that. Okay, this is another interesting news. I'm not sure. I don't know why, but lately there's been a lot of DNS issue, not only Salesforce but a lot of companies. So we are already covering a couple of it now. So this one related to Salesforce. So apparently they put it a blame on a single engineer, saying that during the normal maintenance he didn't follow the process, and then he made a changes, and then that when and then made a deployment, and then that thing brought down everything. So if you're interested, they actually came out with this article actually from Salesforce stuff, like they're telling you what actually happened, like what time and the RCA itself. So basically that change made the entire thing to a fail restart of the DNS service across the multiple Salesforce data center. And this actually ironically brought even the status page down for Salesforce. So the status page of Salesforce was down because everyone's trying to see and it's overloaded. So and need to like spin up more load for that for their own status page. So yep. So moving on to the next one. You can go read out actually, by the way. So you can just like Salesforce DNS, show the RCA is there. So it's very complete. So it's quite interesting to read. And moving on, the most incredible tool and everyone, we can't even like do their work without this Stack Overflow. It's been sold to the tech giant of Process for 1.8 billion. So hopefully nothing changes much, but we also understand that they need money to run. So it's not the easy thing to run, right? It's a cost money and need money. It's not easy to monetize it as well. So hopefully things remains the same. But I can't guarantee about your data though. So okay, this is another interesting CDN issues as well. Basically, if you notice how this page from Fastly itself, the entire thing was going noted like brought down a lot of services. So some of this is since Hacker News is the only one was up that time. I mean that's the only thing was up. So Quora was down, Stack Overflow was down, some of the Amazon Prime I think was not Prime, Twitch was down. So NY Times was down, PayPal was down. So a lot of services were down. That's the moment that we actually realized that hey, actually it's not Google or Google Cloud or AWS or Azure. It's actually Fastly that if it's down, we are pretty much screwed because there's a lot of services running on the Fastly. So especially their CDN. So the new issue was noticed at 40. They took about 40 minutes to actually pinpoint it, and then on to make a fix on it, and then slowly start to recover. So they actually you can check the incident report here, and you can go check it out. So go check it out on how they resolve it, what was the issue, and what was the error, everything. And apparently it was the bug on the single client, and which was there for a while, and then when they did a deployment or something, that thing triggered the entire pipe. So it's quite weird lah. So and then I still don't know which client and how exactly that happened. So if you know, you let me know as well. So yeah, moving on to the next interesting one. Slack had another outage. So they actually wrote a very good RCA and a very interesting story how the outlining of this like actually goes across one day. So to cut it short, basically they did the deployment and then realized that the web app was running. Web app was like spinning up a lot of more instances and stuff, scaling up very very weirdly. So and then they have their own custom script for Hub, Ashe proxy or Hub proxy. So I don't know which one you guys pronounce it. So so they were using that with a custom script, but somehow the script got bugged. So that's how they pinpointed it. But because of that, is before this incident was keep scaling up and causing a downage. They're already running on a very high issue amount of instances because of uh, everyone is working from home and they're using a lot of stuff on the Slack. So yeah, you go check it out. So the engineering it's not very good day, very bad day at Slack. So, but it's quite interesting to read that, and they're actually moving to Envoy. So that's why they actually totally ignored the HAP proxy for a while. So they didn't, no one touched it, and then suddenly this happened. So yeah. Moving to the next one. This is recently happened. I think 25th of June. So like 4 days ago. Basically, whoever helped the Western editor, my book live, they woke up and they realized that the data all gone, so it's been deleted massively from over the cloud. I mean over the night. So this is what happened lah. So haven't I don't know how that happened, but you can check it out and see if you're using that. Probably you want to like unplug it from your internet. So if your data is still there lah. So. And then, so this is another interesting one. So, this what happened during the uh, AstraZeneca second registration. So basically, when they open up to the public to anyone to register, so there's a lot of issues so on this, like, and people were bugging, and like the news where people were just pinpointing this and that and going on a lot of stuff. But mainly what I noticed, and they're definitely not using a free Cloudflare. Like, they're using a paid one, but it's not properly configured, and they got rate limited, and then not only that, and then they got cost issues. I think they were still pushing some changes after 12 o'clock when they're supposed to go launch, and then after that, some people apparently found out that next day they got registered, although they didn't see the success page. And then some people realized that, hey, I'm in JB, but I got appointment in JB and different date, different month. So I don't know how the thing entirely went up. If they have a RCA, I'll be it's actually good to have a RCA. So if they have a RCA, it's very nice to read it. So to how the thing went down, so, and what actually went down. So, but until now we don't know what happened. So yeah, so we don't know much, so I can't say much. We can only assume it. All right. So I think it's a good stage and good I think it's a good stage that put Malaysia where we stand attack wise, like compared to, like, if you see Slack where with a very proper RCA, they did messed up. No one realized it, but actually they wrote a long essay like what happened, how that happened, how this won't happen again next time. So these are stuff that's why it's important to have a RCA, right? So, and it's actually pinpoint. It's a blame game, but it's more towards you learn from it. So, and move on. So a couple of stuff from others news. So the last slide for the day, for the Buzzcorner. So e-statement error. So I think this happened a couple of days ago. If you're RFV customer, you probably got a email, your e-statement or the email statement, but it's not yours, someone else. So the data you probably know someone else how much they have and stuff like that, I guess. So yeah, so this happens. Again, I don't know how. So they never give any RCA, right? So it's just a technical glitch. That's why we use in Malaysia, right? Another one, BunnyNet. So this is another good, interesting read of the DNS issue. So I won't say much. Just go and read. So I'll say that lah. So it's very interesting how it went wrong of the DNS and how they fix it. And it's quite interesting how they fix it though. So you probably want to check that out lah. And next one is the Microsoft Teams 2.0. So they're now dropping Electron and going for Edge WebView and WebView 2. So this actually saved the memory like 50% apparently. So yeah, so that's a good move by Microsoft, I guess. And next one is the details. Basically, there's a GitHub repo that actually tells you if you can check whether your PC suits you for Windows 11. If you notice, a lot of people, since the Windows 11 announced, they're trying to install Windows 11, but when you check, it actually fails because they're really specific about your CPU, your RAM, all that, and I think it's a lot, all that. So you probably want to check it out first before installing, before you crashing your Windows and make it not workable at all. So yeah. And other thing, the last one for now is the data centers. So for data centers in Malaysia, apparently there's a concern going on and came out in news as well. Is they want to come up with a few regulations saying that you need to provide the data if your data center is hosted, for example, Google Cloud or Azure. Also in Malaysia, they can actually have a cease and seizure. So basically, they can access the data. The code orders them to give the data lah. So that's mainly it. So there's a lot of issues going on, and regulation is part of it. So just for you guys to be aware. So what's going on? So yeah, having talked that, let's start to the fun part where I'm gonna bring in the speakers, Martin Lee and then CY Tan as well. So intro them and then let them intro and then carry the way all the way. So let's do that. Go back here and if you guys just join, feel free to leave the questions, any feedback, anything, just leave in the comments. That's how we see it. That's how we interact. So we were happy to answer you guys as well. So yeah. So hi Martin. So this is Martin. He's the head of solution architect at Redhat, and he's one of the speaker. And then I'm going to bring another guy as well. So this is CY Tan, and he's senior solution architect with Redhat, and he's also part of it today. And then I'm going to bring the slide as well. And yep. Okay. So I think all good. Martin, are you guys?
Good. Devon, can you see the screen?
Yep, I can.
All right. Yeah, let me bring it to a presentation mode. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Yeah.
Yep.
So hope everybody is well. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. So
okay,
carry on. So we'll
yeah.
drop in anything we'll ping you. So you guys carry on. So all yours. Hope you guys can enjoy it. All right.
Okay, cool. Thanks. First and foremost, right? Very good evening to everybody. Hope everybody have had your dinner. Being relaxed. This is really, we wanted to make it fun. We learn together and grow together. Yeah. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank DevOps Malaysia for inviting us to speak in today's sessions. Yeah. Having with me is CY Tan. Yeah. So he is my senior solutions architect. Most of the time, right, he will be doing all the fun stuff, right, demoing the cool stuff to you. For me, I will be just bringing you a couple of those concepts, if you don't mind. Yeah, I will encourage you to drop in any questions that you have in the comments. So we'll be monitoring that, and hopefully then we have chance to actually respond to some of them as well. Yeah, like what Devon speak about just now. Yeah, we do actually have some quizzes. And then there's some vouchers to be given away. Yeah, so it's just a token appreciation. So yeah, let's stay engaged. Well, this is the topics that we are going to share with everybody, right? So we talk about what and why containers, right? And why do we need other than container orchestration platform, right? So then in order to do this well, right, put this into production, just now Devon shared a lot of those cases, like the exact case, right, in terms of vaccinations. So we actually have some issues, So then when we really talk about deploying this to large scales kind of mode, so what kind of good characteristics of the platform, right, that we need to kind of take into considerations when we roll out these things into production, right? Last but not least itself, more importantly, is the exciting stuff, right? The demo, right? So yeah, we will end the sessions itself with some fun quizzes. Yeah. So just stay tuned. Yeah. Okay. So why and what and why are containers? But before we go into the container orchestrations, right? So why do we actually people talk about containers today, right? So if you look at this diagram, right? What happens is that people actually ship part and parcels of the stuff to the deck, right? Then when we reach to the destinations, then people need to unpack it. Then you need to remember the sequence of unpacking, right? So just imagine this as in the software world, right? So when the developer is developing something, they use some part of it, right? And then when they throw it to the operations, what happened, right? They expect the operations team to be able to know, right? To take care of all these dependencies before they actually turn it on to production. Is there a better way of actually doing that, right? So that's where, would it be nice that in the factory you already package everything nicely, right? So when you transport to your so-called destination, just drop it in and magically it will work. So that would be a nicer, quicker way, a more reliable way of deploying software. That's the whole concept of containers, yeah. Yeah, so containers, and people might ask, what is the difference between containers and VM, right? So you look at it, VM, basically we virtualize things, right? You actually have your hardware and then you actually have your hypervisor, right? So on top of that, what do? then you install layers and layers of the component itself, being the OS, the applications dependencies and whatnot. So all this you need to actually package it. Yeah, container. What happens is that if you just need to actually have the platform. Yeah, the platform is having a container supported operating system. By and large, this is Linux, right? And then what you do is that in terms of packaging your software, we package it in terms of a container. So you actually have your app dependencies and your applications code compiled, right? And package it nicely. So what you do is that any platforms that you have with the supported operating system, you just drop in this container, then it will just function, right? So that's the whole notions of containers. Yeah. So what is the good things about containers? So if you ask the application people, right? So applications, what they need is that they want to be able to, just quickly explore new things, right? So build the next killer apps, right? Exploring new kind of development framework. Right? So they want freedom, they want agility. Whereas the operation side of people, right? So what they need is stability, right? So don't give me anything that, that is having issues with it. When I deploy, then I need to pull my hair every now and then, right? When we're deploying it. So then how can we actually get into a situation whereby we can fulfill both of these persons' aspirations? So that's where the middleman is the container, right? So you want to try new things, you package your stuff, put it onto a container, and this container you just drop it in, right? And that's where the guys know how to exactly deploy these things itself, right? Get it run, and that actually allows people to achieve the kind of speed that they needed. Yeah. So we look at it, container kind of facilitate some kind of DevOps, right? So get the development teams and the operation teams itself to communicate better with one another. Okay. So now that you understand the benefit of doing containers, now how do you actually do these things properly, right? So people say that is container equate Dockers, right? So yeah, Docker is one of the technology that supports container, right? But when you actually have many containers that you need to manage, right? So you need to scale them accordingly. So how do you do that, right? So that's where you need some kind of orchestrations platform. Yeah, so orchestration platforms itself help you to manage some of this scheduling of the deployment of your containers, right? Giving you the capabilities to monitor that and scale that accordingly. So let me dig this thing down a little bit deeper in terms of, some of these technology that we're using. Right? So surprise, and I guess there's no surprise today. Kubernetes is the most famous sort of like container orchestrations engine available, right? So it is there, it is widely being adopted, right? So then let's actually dig into it. How does this orchestrations, this Kubernetes works, right? So basically, it can be hosted in various kinds of a hardware or infrastructure, so to speak, be it physical, virtual, or even in the cloud, right? So what you actually have in those itself, you spawn something called nodes, right? So within the nodes itself, this is where you will drop all your containers onto it. Yeah. So the containers itself, we actually have the notions of a pod, right? So some of these container service, if they are very closely coupled, right? So you can actually pack, can roll them out into something like a pod, right? So the pod, this is where using the pod, we can actually scale the pod accordingly, right? Such that it will be able to actually achieve the kind of load balancing and load balancing, so to speak, right? So each of the node itself, you can actually deploy various kinds of pods which contains the various the containers. The containers can actually be deployed using different technology, right? You can see in the diagram here, we have a MongoDB, right, in one of the node. We have Tomcat in one of the node, right? So then we actually have some Node.js in there and MySQL as well. So the platform the orchestration platforms itself that host and manage all these containers got to be able to support a what we call kind of multiple kind of development languages or different kind of new sexy technology. Yeah. So in terms of that, how does the pod work, right? Okay, Docker, as you look at it, right? So it has some image, right? So you actually have a Docker image, that is the base image. Now, then you say, what is the best Docker image to choose, right? So this is where, in Redhat, we actually create something called a universal base image, right? Which is having a very secure kind of OS, layer, but it's stripped down, right? So in a lightweight kind of fashion, just to make sure that you can actually get these applications, this container up and running, yeah. So then, you have all this. Then how do you schedule all the pod deployment to all this node? This is where we actually have something called the master node, right? So in the master node itself, it actually does functions like first, authenticate, right? Which kind of apps in the containers that you can access. It talks about, managing some of the metadata about the container itself. And more importantly, is talking about scheduling, right? So let's say you want to spawn something, yeah, you just go to the registry, pick up the image, then depending on some of the configurations that you put in that, it will spawn the pod nicely into the various nodes, yeah. So other than that, right, how about load balancing? Martin, you talk about load balancing. How does it actually really works, right? So we actually have this thing called the service layer. The service layers itself allows you to say that, let's say I want to ensure that in one of the configuration, all the configuration states that, I want to make sure that at any point in time, this particular container, I want two versions, not two versions, two instances of it running, so that these two instances can kind of like take the load accordingly, right? So what you do is that the master schedule it, yeah, and then from here itself, then when people access it, they don't need to remember which port, right, which IP address. They just go to this service layer, identified by unique name, and you let the platform, the orchestration platforms actually takes care of it. Yeah. So the platform also need to be able to have some kind of a self-healing capability, right? Say, for example, due to some unforeseen reason and whatsoever, right? So the pod is actually experiencing some health issue. Yeah, the orchestration platform will actually determine that, and then from that itself, it knows that you need to actually have two instances anyway. So what it does is that it's smart enough to spawn it into another node, right? While they try to actually spin up the other nodes again, yeah, back into the spin out another instance itself into the original node, yeah. So that it itself helps you to actually keep the availability of your applications. Now, the orchestrations itself also, a lot of time your application need persistency storage, right, to store some of your application data. Yeah, the orchestration platform itself should be able to support some kind of persistency. Yeah. So having here heard all these things, right? No, cool. Yeah. So what else is actually needed? Now, to really put this into productions itself, right? We really need to think on top of this additional stuff, right, to make it production ready. What are those things, right? For example, one of the things that we need to seriously think about is, the multi-tenancy concept. Yeah. So having one platform, but you can still slice and dice it. Slice and dice it in the sense that, you'll be able to actually serve multiple projects, right? Having the isolations between these projects. So that is the multi-tenancy things that we need to worry about. Next thing is talking about how do we actually handle things like ingress and egress kind of stuff. Just now talking about, people manually configuring stuff, and we don't want that to happen, right? So the platform itself should actually have some kind of, continuous integrations and continuous delivery kind of stuff, right? So we call it a CI/CD pipeline. So on top of that, we also need to remember, right? So, how can we actually ensure that the container itself in itself doesn't really actually have vulnerability, right? We don't really actually package anything vulnerable in the container such that the container spawn and it actually is spread throughout the whole cluster, right? So do we want to actually disable that? So some vulnerability scanning of the image is also very important. Yeah. So these are a couple of these that I want to actually talk about, and I just want to keep it, that you guys actually know about some of this content and concept. Later on, you see this in action demo by CY. Okay. So, in order for the platforms to be agile, you should also think about having the capability to do self-service. Remember just now I talked about the developer who want to actually have agility, right? So wouldn't it be nice is that given the quota that is assigned to the developer, he can go in there to say, today I feel like for this particular app, I want to try the React kind of framework, right? So then can I just spawn up one sandbox and quickly do some coding, right? Then from the coding itself, just spawn some of this container and see how it works, right? Would that be nice? That is what we call the self-service feature. Multi-language, just now we talk about, automation is really talking about some of this CI/CD capability, right? So, I think a lot also talk about standard base, right? So like, can we actually make sure that the platform itself uses some open source standard? Well, in here, we all Red Hat, we all basically very much at heart is open source. So we really actually do that at heart. We take that, we harden that, and then we make it available to all the community to actually use it. Yeah. So in terms of the building of it, yeah. So as the developer, what we need is we are good in coding, right? So just let me code, right? So the rest of it, let the platform handle that, right? Developer, what they do is that they just chuck their code into the some sort of a source repository, right? In this case, it's Git, for instance, right? Then from then, the moment they actually check in, you can even actually enable some kind of a webhook that immediately trigger the build, right? And then build the image, put it into the registry. Then depending on the configurations you put in there, right? Then it will immediately help you to deploy these things onto the platform, right? So the platform itself, right? So not only is actually serving your applications, hopefully it can also serve some other kind of middleware as well, right? So which the middleware hopefully is cloud native. When we say cloud native, that means that you can be able to actually scale it, on demand. Yeah. So really behave like how the cloud actually behave. Yeah. So those kind of things itself, this is also another perspective you need to think of, right? For example, a lot of time people want to build really very what we call reactive kind of applications, event-driven architecture, right? Is something that people really talk about. So under that circumstances, your platform should be able to actually support as well. What happened if to say that now today you actually have one orchestration cluster, one Kubernetes cluster, right? So if you actually multiple clusters, right, then you want to manage all these clusters itself in Unity, right? So how do you actually do it? This is the concept of multi-cluster management, right? So these are the other concepts. When we actually scale, when we actually deploy this container at scale, these are some of the things that we need to really think about, right? So also in nowadays, people are saying that, can we also bring some of our VM images, right? As we do more of this container, I do actually have some legacy application, but I want to be able to manage it like a containers. Is it possible, right? Yeah, so people are talking about putting VM onto a single orchestration platform as well. Yeah, those kind of capabilities is actually available. And if you're interested in this kind of capability, do drop into your comment. And this one could be the next topic that we can actually talk about, right? So AI ML is also another thing that, is hot in the market. Another thing is really how can we make sure that, the thing really scale on demand. And I want to optimize my resources. What do you mean by that? If the thing is not being used, scale it down to 0, right? So when it's required, then spin it up again, right? So that can help you to actually kind of optimize your platform while give you the kind of scalability. Yeah. Yep. So with that, I just want to really save all these so-called slides, so to speak, and really get onto the actual demo itself. Today, we'll get CY to show some of this capability I talk about in this product called OpenShift, right? So that we have, right? So it's based on Kubernetes. And without further ado, I turn it over to CY. Yeah?
Hey, thank you very much, Martin. Yeah, you're always my best partner in crime. Where you do all the talkings, and then I just, focusing, dealing with technical stuff.
My pleasure, always.
Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screens. Okay. Okay, can you see my slide?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. So, following from Martin, so this is where I'll do, very simple demo. Okay, so I'll be using a developer consoles to try deploy a sample Java applications, which is based on Quarkus framework. Okay, so this source code is stored in my own Git repository, right? If times allows, maybe I'll touch a little bit on something called cloud native CI/CD as well. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, I have my source code in my Git repository. In this case, I'm using GitHub. Let me zoom in a little bit so that it make it bigger. So this is a very simple Java applications that will return some greeting message plus the host name, right? But in this case, I'm deploying into container platforms. That's why instead of host name being written, you return the pod name. That's why I name my project as a Quarkus-pod name. Okay, and this is my enterprise Kubernetes platforms. So I'll be acting like a normal developer. Okay, logging in into my console. So the moment I log in into my developer console, you can see I'm landed at the topology here. So here I have quite a lot of options to choose from how I can deploy my application, right? Either I want to try out some samples out of the box, private platforms, or I can go with dev file or directly pull some container images to do the deployment. But in this case, I'm using, deploying from the Git. This is where I choose this options. Okay, so I need to copy my Git URL. Okay, allows me to zoom in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to paste the Git repo URL here. So the moment I posted the URL, you can see the system actually is validating against the content of your Git repository, right? At the same time, you also kind of like detect what kind of programming language you are using here. So in this case, it detected actually is a Java applications, right? And it will recommend you to use the Java builder-based images to do the compilation to build the container image for you. Okay, so of course you can see there are other options here as well, right? So this is a kind of like polyglot enterprise Kubernetes platforms, allows you to develop and deploy different kind of languages applications, right? Ranging from PHP, .NET Core, Go, Ruby, right? Today's example I'm using is a Java base, right? Further down, I can choose the builder image versions because this is a Java based image. So basically, it's just the OpenJDK version you are choosing, right? So I just use the one that systems pre-selected for me, okay? So I'm going to do some changes here. So I'm going to make all the names being used here as a standard names. So for application name, for the component name, I just make everything looks the same, okay? So for the resource type to do the deployments, here you can see there are 3 types, right? So for those who are familiar with Kubernetes, deployment is out of the box provided by Kubernetes platforms. Well, over here, I have something called deployment configs, right? So this is basically something that built on top of deployments. So the difference is that it gives more granular controls, more configurations. For example, you can use something called image streams, which can keep track of the image version that you deploy. And then at the same time, every single deployments, there's a version control of that deployment as well. That allows you to quickly and easily roll back to the previous version of the deployment. Okay. And the third type we have here is something called Knative service. This allows us to deploy your application as a serverless applications, right? So according to the definition here, we actually scaling down to 0 when it's idle. That means when there's no traffic, the system actually will scale down all your application to 0 instances. So no consumption of the CPU and memory, right? So this is very ideal for development environment or any use case that you have some applications that does not really need to be up and running 24/7. For this sample demo, I'm going to choose deployment config. Okay. So remember, I was mentioning about I want to touch base on the cloud native CI/CD, right? So here is showing as pipelines. That's why I'm going to check this box. Okay, and then I expand some visualization here. So you can see out of the box, the system actually give me a default pipeline, also called the CI/CD flow, right? Starting from fetching repository, and then it will do the building, and then it will deploy my application into the platform. Okay, so this is the default that is being provided. Of course, we can further customize later, right? And the last configuration is create a route to the applications, right? So my applications is available to be accessed outside of these platforms, right? That's why I want to create this the route resource. Then it will give me a public URL, and then I can just consume the API, right? So there are more advanced options here, but for this demo, I'll just leave everything as default and proceed to click create. Okay, so the moment I click create, it will bring me back to the topology. But you notice now it's showing, something like a circle kind of things with this, Java logo saying hi. That's why it will actually based on the base image, the languages you choose, right? So the icon actually will change accordingly, right? If I click on this little guy here, so there are more informations about these deployments, okay? So like, for example, currently there's no pod runnings, right? Because I actually use the pipeline to do the build, deploy, so on and so forth. And then it shows what kind of other resources I have here, right? So now let's go into the pipelines, okay? So now the pipelines actually is running here, okay? I can click this one, and I go to pipeline runs. Pipeline runs means every single executions, okay? So I'm going to stop it here. I stop the first one. The reason is because it will actually, when it doing the compilations, it will pull all the dependencies, those libraries from the publics, right? But in order for me to speed up and shortens the times it takes, right? So this is where I want to make use of a local Maven repository, okay? And then it will just download from the local repository instead of going through the public repository. So this will help me to save the times, when it comes to the building, right? So apart from saving,
Siwa, can we host the repository in OpenShift?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, nice.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a Maven repository. So I'm using the open source Nexus, and I pre-deploy in the same container platforms, and also I preloaded all these libraries required to be compiled by my projects. That's why when it start building, it actually fetching all these libraries locally within the platform. So this will help speeding up the whole building process. Okay. So apart from speeding up the process, right? So a lot of times we may have our Kubernetes platforms, deploy into a disconnected environments, right? Especially industry like banks or governments, right? They may have a disconnected kind of environments, right? This kind of tactic can be used over there as well. Okay. So now let me go and start the pipeline again. Okay. So everything has been pre-filled. You can do some double check. Okay. Let's go and start it. Okay, so if I go back to the pipeline runs, so you can see actually the second runs is being executed. Okay, so I try to simulate it. It will take about 3 minutes in total. while it's running, probably let me go through some concept of this pipeline, right? So you may ask me, right? Hey, you know, there are some others tools out there, like for example, Jenkins. Jenkins is something that is very famous, you know, for us to do CI/CD. What's so different about these pipelines, or so-called you call it cloud native CI/CD, right? So for Jenkins, typically is you need to set up a server, and everyone will log in into this server, build their own pipelines, write their Jenkins scripts, and then they will execute the jobs from there. So there's a centralized kind of management and executions server, right? So if there's any issue with that server, the server is down. So basically everyone cannot do any deployment. They cannot execute any pipelines at all. While looking at this, this cloud native way of doing CI/CD is that there's no centralized server required, right? It works like kind of like serverless environment, right? So each of the tasks in this diagram here, it will spawn a dedicated container and inside a pod and do the jobs. Like for example, it will, you know, ad hocly create a container to do the fetching the repository. Basically, it's a Git clone within it. And then it will go into the build. This way, it will spawn the second container to do these jobs, and then following by the deploy. And each of these individual tasks can be reused, right? So you can see over here. So I have the class, the task name, right? So for example, Martin today would like to do a similar thing. He also like, you know, want to clone some source code from his own repository. So he can just make use of whatever I have here, reuse it, but just change the parameters like the Git URL. And then immediately he can easily build another pipeline. And our execution is kind of like isolated from each other's, right? So there's no dependency from each other. There's no centralized server. There's no issue like, you know, if something happened with the server, then everyone stop, cannot do their work or the kind of things, right? So let's look at my pipelines here. Yeah, so it's about times it will be finished. So we can actually look into some of the information when it was running. So like looking at the logs, for example. So you can see it's speeding up pretty fast. Okay, so yep, it's now pushing to images to do the deployment. Okay, so let me quickly go back to the topology. We can see some animation here. Wow, you see the deeper blue color actually is showing that. So this indicate that this pod is ready and it's up and running. Okay, so we can actually click on this very nice icon here to open the URL. So you can see is API message. So the greeting message is aloha, and then from this Quarkus port name 1 dash blah blah blah. So this actually is the host name or the so-called the port name, right? You can see 5. Zoom in a little bit. So it ended with 5mm7W. Let's go ahead and check, is it the same name we have here? Okay, so this is the port name. Okay, so maybe I want to show one more things here, right? So a lot of times we do our development, then we'll check into the Git repository, right? So this is where I want to automate, you know, the trigger points. I don't want to manually come here to click the pipeline, that kind of things, right? So this is where I can come to here. I do add some trigger. Okay, so in this case, I'm using the GitHub. So I want to capture the event of push. So that means when somebody committed some code changes into the Git repository, then it will trigger this event. So I go ahead and click add. Okay, so if I check back my details information here, I can see that there's a URL available here, right? So this is the URL that I will need to copy and put into my Git repository, right? Let me go to the settings. So some of you may already know it's the webhooks that we are going to configure here, right? So let me add a webhook here. So I'll paste the callback URL here. I'll change the content type to JSON. Okay, that's all I do, and add the webhook. Okay, so now let me click inside and click on this recent deliveries. Yep, there's a green tick here that indicate that it actually validated this is a valid link, right? Now let me go ahead and make some changes into my source code. So typically you will do this using your preferred IDE, that only you check into this Git repository. But for these demo purposes, I'll just directly change from my repository here. So maybe I'll change the greeting message from hi, DevComs folks, okay? And I'll just go ahead and commit it. Okay, so according to what we were planning, this should trigger the webhook and then send an event into my the pipeline that I was created just now, right? So let me go back to my pipeline. See, you can see it's currently running. If I go inside here, let's check the pipeline runs. Yep, you see the third execution has been triggered. Okay, so it will continue the CI/CD process, take my changes, do the build, do the deploys, then you can see the changes upfront when you're accessing the API. Right, so that concludes my demo. So how easy we actually, can have quickly do a deployment using this developer console, then have a simple CI/CD, automate everything, configure the triggering. Then I can, as a developer, I can just focus using my IDE, build my business logic, do my coding, and at the end of this, check in the source code, then the platform will actually, do everything for me, right?
Nice, CY. So one question though, if let's say I want to kind of like scale this, right? So how easy is this to scale this port? Yeah.
Yep. So we can again make use of this developer console. We can go back to the topology. Okay. So let's pick just now the same application I have here. So I click this very nice icon here. Okay. If I goes to this details tab here, okay,
All right.
you can see currently it's showing that there's one port running, right? So there are two very nice icon here that is pointing up and down. So if you want to increase, this is where you click these buttons. So immediately you can see some animation here. It's saying that it's currently scaling to 2 ports.
That's easy.
Yeah. And once it scales up to 2 ports, the platform actually will automatically detect that there's additional instance. Then it will do the load balancing between these ports as well. And as API consumer or end user, you will, totally not aware, there's a load balancing, there's additional ports spawning up at the back end. Right? Same thing, you also can click this button to scale it down.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's say, could it be like auto scale based on something like, for example, CPU, reach certain threshold, then it will auto scale when it comes back again, right? The load is not there, then it scale down. Is it possible to do that as well?
Yes. I can show the configuration page, but to simulate that, I actually need to generate some load, right? So probably I just show you where we can actually configure this. Okay, wait, you can see there are some animation here, right? Because remember just now I kickstart a pipeline when I committed the changes. That's why you can see usually there are some animation here. Okay, so let's go back to that later. Let's come back to here where you can add the this. You can see the menu here, add horizontal ports auto scaler, right? So this is where you can configure, right? What is the name of this auto scaler? What is the minimum ports you want to maintain when there's no load, and you also can set what is the maximum pods you can scale up to, right? And there are two types of resource you can measure here, either by CPU or by memory, or even combination of these two. So for example, you go with 70% of CPU utilizations, and you started with one pod. So the moment the loads comes into the platforms, the platform will detect that, okay, the CPU utilization of that pod is more than 50%, right? So this is where the threshold being hit, and the platform will scale additional pods, become total of 2 pods, load balance, and then it will continue to monitor the CPU utilization. If the average of these 2 pods is more than 50% again, then it will scale to the third one, so on and so forth, or fourth, and until the maximum pods you configure here. Right?
Nice.
So that's how the autoscaler works. By the way, let's go back and check our API. So just now I changed the greeting message, right? So here I should expect the changes here. Yeah, so hi,
Voila.
DevOps community. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so yep.
is there any questions, in the chat that we need to attend specifically for this demo?
Yeah, so there are, you can read my mind. Yeah, I saw some questions coming. Yeah, so one of them I picked up, right? I think it's sort of from somebody called the short form is WTT. Yeah. So for those of you, if you happen that I picked one of your questions, right? So later we can follow up with you, right? In terms of
Sure.
getting the name, yeah, your title in full, and the email address, then we can send the one food voucher over. Yeah, Devon, you have something to add on?
Yeah. So what we do is you let me know what the question you're mentioning, and I'll bring it up into a screen, and then
Can do.
and then you can go on. Right? So it's the first one is your machine is a WT, right?
WTT, it actually, let me just scroll the questions a little bit, right? It says that OpenShift on-prem, what LB is supported? What load balancer is actually supported? Yeah.
Okay.
So
I got this.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, keep the question coming, guys. So we can keep gathering it. So if there's new, so now you know what's the surprise. It's a 20 ringgit food voucher. So, whoever asked before this, you guys are gonna get it. So just remember to give your emails and stuff. So like what you mentioned earlier. So yeah, yes, Marty, go ahead. We're happy out on the side.
Can do. Thank you so much, Devon. Yeah. Sivai, you want to take this?
Yeah, sure. So the whole the Kubernetes platform we are showing here, right? So is kind of like a private data center itself, right? So there's a software-defined network layers in these platforms, where it has its own kind of like subnet within the platform itself. Okay, so the load balancer components within these platforms is using something called HA proxy. Yeah, so that is the components that are being used as a load balancer within the platform itself. While external outside of the platforms, right, you can use any of your existing load balancers or any load appliance out there, right? So like for example, F5, that is one of the pretty common on-prems load balancer solutions, a lot of organizations have. Yep.
Okay, so the other one that I picked up here is Anik Bukhari. Yeah, is it? I hope I pronounce your name correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
That's the one. Yes. So So local Maven need to be pre-upload, install in disconnected environment or hybrid.
I presume is the Maven repository I was using, when I do the compilation, right? Yeah, so everything's inside this platform is running as a container, as a pod, right? So the one I'm using is Nexus 3, right? I pull the images from outside registry, and then I deploy here. Then of course, I set up those proxies to the public Maven or Red Hat repository, right? So for this demo purposes, I kind of like pre-built one time, so that my local Nexus 3 will cache all the libraries. And the next time I do the build again, then it will just take from whatever the local cache they have without going out to the external public repository.
Okay, great. The third one I picked up is Andy Lim Chin Huat, right? What are the other container tools does the OpenShift support?
What
Maybe,
are the container tools?
yeah, so maybe we need a little bit more context on this, right? So Andy, if you can, further elaborate on this, that would be good for us to then answer it accordingly.
Yep. That's while I'm waiting for him, right? Let me find. Okay, I think we have few more. Okay, I think let's go to the next one. So while waiting for its elaboration on that, or maybe you want to like maybe give it a very general way first while waiting for the. Yep.
What other container tools does the OpenShift support? Right. I guess
Is
that.
it like yeah.
Okay. So of course, let me just answer it based on my understanding of the questions, right? So in terms of the kind of images that we have, right? Like CY mentioned, right? So we have a listing of that, yeah, and those things, it could be things like your MongoDB, your MySQL, right? And then you actually have your different type of programming languages like Node.js, whatsoever, right? So internally, in terms of the containers tooling itself, right? So what happened in our platforms, we also use things like the Cryo, right? So which is another so-called Docker engine, so to speak, right? Which doesn't require the dependency of the daemon, right? So that makes things a little bit lighter and makes things a little bit more secure in that sense, right? So because we don't need to actually use root, yeah. So those are some of these containers toolings that we actually use, right? So here we also have something called S2I, yeah. So remember just now when CY actually just picked from the Git, right? What happens is that it picks the source code. It actually uses S2I image based on the catalog that you choose, right? And internally, depending on the catalogs that you choose, right, it will then create this thing called it may actually have already the Maven inside there, and download the tools and run the Maven build. Once the build is finished, right, what it does is that it creates the container image, which then drops it into the container registry. Yeah. So then with that container new image that you built, right, then you'll be able to spin it off. The good thing about this, once the build is done, right, guess what? The pod is gone, right? So you don't need to, like conventional, you need to have a build machine, right, to actually build stuff, right? Then the build machine is still need to be there, right? So this one is you spawn a pod, you build it. After you build it, it's complete, then boom, it goes, right? So that allows you to actually have a lot of optimization there.
Okay. So I hope someone answers your question, Andy.
No worries, you can still drop the comment, so after this we can pick it up and then can answer again.
Yep. Or you can reach out to them personally as well. So you know their LinkedIn as well, so you can reach out as well. So
can do.
Yep.
Yeah. So with that, I think I would need their names, right? The WTT, Andy Lim, right? And then also Andy, right? Annie, yeah. Annie, yeah. So once we actually have that, then we can get their company name, their title, their email address, right? So that'd be good. Yeah. So that we can actually follow up with the food voucher, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Just feel reach out to us, guys. You guys, you just leave a comment or reach out to us or contact through LinkedIn, and then we will try to get that food voucher organized for you guys, lah. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking, Devon, we actually have the quiz, yeah. So which is 5 questions, right? I guess that is exciting as well. So maybe Siwai, can we do that? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Before
we have
we go,
a few more questions actually.
go to that. Actually, I want to share 2 resources, right? So for those, you are interested to try out to do some hands-on on, whatever, I was showing there, right? So here I have this learn.openshift.com. So it's kind of
Siwai,
like very
are you
short.
sharing your screen?
Oh,
I think we don't
hold
see
on a
your
minute.
screen.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. Okay.
Let me remove the comment as well. Okay, got it. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Devon.
okay. Sorry for that. Can you see the screen now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those who are interested to try it out, some of the things I was doing or maybe further explore, right? So you can actually go to this URL learn.openshift.com. So it actually gives you a few scenarios. So each of these courses are very short. It's like ranging between 10 to 20 minutes. So you can just click on start the course, then it will have everything you need to complete that particular course, right? So for those who want to further play around with that platforms, right? So this is where you can go to these developers.redhat.com. You can actually request a developer sandbox of this Red Hat OpenShift for yourself, right? So this way it will have the, something like a mini workspace for you. Just now that one was an individual scenario, right? You can't do much. It's just for you to have a quick learn on some scenarios. While this one, it actually gives you the whole platform to play around with. Okay, and then it gives you some samples, so on and so forth. Yeah, those are the things I want to share. And okay, we kind of covered the Q&A already. Yeah.
So we
this
have
is
quiz, right, Martin? So
Yes,
so let's do the quiz, and then after that, if we have we can probably like a couple of minutes on your questions. I see like they have like 5-6 questions. Maybe I do a quick one later towards the end.
Can no problem.
Okay,
Alright.
we'll come back to the questions, right?
Yep.
Okay, so for the quiz, yeah, I'm going to use some tools. Okay, so I'll give you a link later after this, so you can take that link, access either using your mobile phones or using your computer. What it needs is just a browser, right? So when the quiz starts, right, the fastest that responded, give the correct answer, you will get the highest scores, right? There will be a total of 5 questions. Okay, so you will have 20 seconds for each of the questions for you to answer, right? We will pick top 5 winners, and these winners, we will give you 20 ringgit of GrabFood vouchers. We will send this to your email, right? So one thing I want to remind you is that when you start joining the quiz, so you will be asked to put in your name, right? But I'll request you to put in your valid email address so that we can capture the email address, and then we will send you the food voucher. Okay, so everyone clear?
Yep. Get ready with your QR code scanner.
Yep. Let's go to the. There you go, right? So you can key in the URL slido.com. Then you will be asked for a code, right? So you'll be keying in DevCom 629, which is today's date. If you're using mobile, you can opt to use the QR scanners and scan the QR here. And then it will bring you to the browser to play with this quiz. Okay, let me activate the quiz. Remember to key in your email address. Okay, so we will pause here for a while to get people to join here. So you can see, we have 6, 7 coming up.
Oh, good. More people coming in. Nice. So remember, guys, yeah, so for those who didn't key in their so-called email address, right, later on, definitely we need to follow up with you to get your email, yeah? Else we don't know how to send the voucher to you.
Yep, we have 14 participants so far.
Yeah.
Still coming. Come, join, guys. Top 5 winners.
Yeah. Wow, I see these things acting in real time, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, while exploring these tools, it's kind of cool, right? For us to do this kind of quiz, right?
So probably for the interest of time, so maybe we just give it another 5 seconds for people to sign in. Yeah, then we can start the quiz, yeah? Devon, is that okay? Yeah, I think you're on mute, Devon.
Sorry. Yeah. So we're saying that you may end it, and then after that wait for a few seconds, and then you start because of the delay to the streaming.
Okay, can do. Yeah, I was just saying that, probably we just give potentially another 5-10 seconds, right? For people to come in. Then we should start the quiz because I don't want to keep people, waiting for too long.
Agree.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See why? Let's
we have
5.
20 now.
Yeah. Let's do a countdown of 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Good. Oh, we have another person coming.
Yeah, and then just wait for a while. And then continue.
Okay, Ken, see why? Then let's hit the quiz and running. Yeah.
Okay, guys, get ready. Look at your mobile. Right, the questions will be posted into your browser. Either is your mobile or it is your web browser from your PC. Right, the question will be posted there. There are 3 options. So, like I said, the faster correct answer get the higher score. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. So this is the first questions. One or more containers are running as a unit of. There are 3 options there. You have 20 seconds to answer.
All right.
Okay. Wow. So we have
Wow.
89% of the people choosing the first options.
Okay.
And seconds, 11%. Nobody choose virtual machine. Okay,
So what's the
let's
correct
see.
answer?
Oh, we have 90%,
Nice.
89%.
Okay.
Let's get the correct one. Okay,
All
now
right.
let's move to the second one. 3, 2, 1, go. Which of the following is taking care of pod placement? No, remember, guys, faster correct answer will get the higher score. Wow, we have 81%, 10% choosing data store. And let's see what's the answer of this. Wow, we have quite a lot of knowledgeable participants here.
Yeah.
I know
Right.
they are paying attention to your presentation, Martin.
Oh, yeah, that means, yeah, good student.
Let's go for the third one. 3, 2, 1, go. Where does a container image store at? Okay. Wow.
Wow.
10% for etcd, 90% for image registry. Well, obviously, authentication is not the answer, right? So we have 90% people score the correct answers.
Yeah, it's container image. The question is container image.
Yeah. So typically, in container platform world, the output of your compilation process is a container image, right? So we will need a repository to store these images. That's where we call it image registry. So for our Kubernetes platform, our box, it has a built-in image registry for you to use. Okay. Now let's go to the fourth one. 3, 2, 1, go. Which of the following is available in vanilla Kubernetes? Actually, this one, I think the level is more difficult compared to the last three questions.
I guess people
they can
get
do it.
right.
We have quite a balance of the answers. Source to image 35, route and load balancing 40, config map 25%. Guys, get ready for the answer. Ta-da!
The killer question.
Yeah, probably, Martin, you want to do a little bit explanation why config map is the correct answer, and the other two actually is not available in vanilla Kubernetes.
Yeah, so let's say, for example, from the routing perspective, right? So that's where, in like our variants, right? So we have added support for that. Yeah, source to image is also something added support, right? Which just now the concept I explained. Config map is something which is common to the Kubernetes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Now, guys, comes to the last questions, right? Top 5 winners. 3, 2, 1, go. Yep, this is my parts, So if you are paying attention to my demo, you should know the answer.
If they're wrong,
then that shows my demonstration was boring.
Interesting.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you guys rocks, man.
Yes.
Correct answer is Quackers. Okay.
Right.
Now let's see who
Who
are
are
the
the winners?
top 5 winners. 3, 2, 1, go.
Wow, congratulations. These are the 5. Yeah, let me take a picture of that first.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, do remember we need your emails. So please verify your email address in these screens. If you are not putting email address, please kindly put into the chats. Then
So Ari, Hermawan, and Fikri. So you guys don't have the email, right? So please put the email or reach out to us, or just reach out to us lah. So either link to the LinkedIn or to me or something. So and then we will organize to send it to you guys. Otherwise, you guys won't get the 20 ringgit food voucher. It's very valuable in current MCO period. Trust me.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Okay, back to us. Back to you.
Yeah, so we do actually have a few more questions in the chat itself, right? So I want to just quickly go through them. Is it okay?
Let me try to bring it up. Yep. Let me try to bring it up some of it. So we try to extend. Does the local repo, okay. This one, quick one. Does the local repo support Gradle?
Gradle is as the something like Maven, right? So we actually do support that, yes.
Okay, so you got your answer. And then next one, So I think I can answer this one. For OpenShift, same as mentioned, it's two different orchestration tools. It's from different companies, so you can check that out. And then what are this one you already answered, right? So let me go with another one. Okay, does it manage local Docker registry?
Does it manage local Docker registry?
Probably need more info.
Need more info, but definitely, right? Just now, if you see that the demo from CY, other than picking from the Git repository, right? So you can actually pick it from one of the Docker registry that you have. Yeah.
Yep. So it's just an orchestration tool, so it's not a registry.
Oh, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. So next one is how about storage?
Storage. Yeah. So, CY, you want to take this?
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah.
So the platform itself does not provide you any of so-called storage, right? But what we provide is there are a lot of plugins for you to integrate with your existing or a new storage solution. For example, SAN storage through iSCSI, or if you go with like NFS servers, all these are available to integrate, and then they will provide as storage to the whole Kubernetes platforms in this case. Right.
Yep.
So if it's in the public cloud, things like S3 storage or Azure storage, all these can be there's a plugin for you to integrate and supply the storage to these Kubernetes platforms.
Okay, so let's answer the next one. So this is a quite long one. So when we set the config such as the scaling, max and minimum limit in the UI, is the info stored in the state file? If yes, is it possible to input that file instead of taking on the UI?
Yes, definitely. I mean, when I do these kind of events, right, I always kind of like to ask the audience, are you guys UI person or command line person? Some really, just like to go with command line, typing, using script,
Yep.
all these kind of things. So yes, we do support both ways, right? Whether is you like to use UI to click, play around, wizards, all this kind of thing, or you want to go with command lines. Both are supported way of doing the same things.
Yep. Hope that answered you, Jax. Okay, next one. So actually, even like there's a certain thing I like to do in UI, certain thing I like to do in command line. So, all right, okay, next one.
Yep.
So next one is the webhook able to work on disconnected or hybrid environment? Perhaps OCP have disconnected JIT too.
Okay, so the connections between the Git repository and the platform definitely must be there, right? So if your Kubernetes platform is sitting in a disconnected environment, so you might need to deploy a Git repository in that disconnected environment as well. Okay. You also have the options of deploying the Git repository on top of this Kubernetes platform. That means, for example, I'm hosting a GitHub inside this platform.
Okay, so I hope that answered the question. And next one, how can we describe the pros and cons of OpenShift against Tanzu Mission Control? Is it even comparable?
OpenShift versus Tanzu Mission Control. Okay, I think the Tanzus is another variants of Kubernetes
VMware
platforms. Yeah, supplied by VMware definitely. So a lot of times we don't really integrate to each other because two are same Kubernetes platform, right? They will have their own Kubernetes engine. We will have our own Kubernetes engine, but we do support deploying our OpenShift platform on top of their virtualization layer.
Yep. So it's it's two different things with this all advantage lah. But it's kind of achieve a similar goal, but it depends on how effective the goal is. So next one will be like, okay, this one let me combine with another one. Do we need to set up Kubernetes Kibana as well for monitoring? And then next one with does OpenShift have any built-in monitoring tool like graph, CPU usage, memory usage, any alerting, or need to integrate with others like Nagios and New Relic? So I noticed there's a monitoring in the dashboard earlier as well, and there's alerting as well. So this is something that I also wanted to ask you earlier. So yeah, maybe you wanna.
Yes.
Maybe you can
sure.
show your dashboard as well. Yeah.
Sure. Am I still sharing my screen?
Yep, you are.
Okay. Let me. Okay. Yeah. So for vanilla Kubernetes, right? You will not have any monitoring features available, and also the centralized logging, right? So for this, we have the metrics tools here, right? So you see, as a normal developers, I can even see this kind of information through the monitoring dashboard here. So I can see the CPU usage, memory usage, receive bandwidth within my own projects. That means I won't see everything. It's kind of like control based on the rollback access you have configured, right? The other thing, by the way, underneath of this dashboard is using Prometheus and Grafana, right? It's pre-built for you. Okay. So another thing I think you also notice is that there's a centralized logging features built within here, right? For example, I go to my pod, right? So I can easily just look at the logs within the pod itself. Okay, and then all these centralized, everything you deploy on top of this OpenShift platform will be pulled into the Kibana and the Fluentd. So the whole logging stacks within this OpenShift is Elasticsearch, Fluentd, and also Kibana. Okay, so in short, both monitoring and centralized loggings are pre-built out of box within the platform for you.
Is it possible to integrate to external like New Relic, York, Nagios, like other third-party monitoring? So.
Oh yes,
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 right.
Definitely, yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we definitely have some customers. They want to go standardized with like, they want to use the their own monitoring, logging tools. Then we just forward out all these logs to their centralized logging like Nagios or this kind of thing.
Nice. So yep,
it's
you
a
guys
very
have
common.
it. Yeah. So last question. So I'm going to combine this as well. So
Okay,
first is OpenShift 4 using Podman, and then is OpenShift 4 support Docker container or only Podman? So.
Yeah, I think Martin actually did touch a little bit on this. Maybe Martin, you want to pick this up?
Yeah. So thing is that there are certain versions onward of OpenShift, right? We already shift to this thing called the Cryo, right? Which is a kind of Docker standards out there, right? So then we also will be implementing something like eliminating the need of the Docker daemon, right? Which make it even more scalable, lightweight, and more secure in that sense. Yes. So in terms of building the image itself, yes, good questions. Podman, right? So you can use Podman or Builder to kind of like build the image as well, right, outside and push it into OpenShift Docker registry as well. That is also possible.
Yep. So hope that answered your question. So that will be the last question for this. We actually had a quite unique situation where we have a lot of questions this time. Okay.
Well, I mean, we are more than happy to, answer some of this. It's all learning all together anyway, right? So I really like the DevOps Malaysia initiative, creating this kind of platform for us to actually learn together. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yep. Sure. Any last question from you, CY Tan?
No. I just do we capture all the email address for the winners?
3 of it. I have the screenshot. I will share. I can share also if you guys miss it. So, but 2 of them are Arif and one more guy. So yeah, guys. So please reach out to us or put your email in a comment. We'll try to or we will try to stalk you and get your email. No, just joking. Just reach out to us, and we were happy to give the full voucher to you lah. So And you can reach out to us, and Martin, Suaitan, your LinkedIn is shared as well. So any questions further on Redhat or anything on the orchestration, you can ask them. They were happy to answer you guys as well. So
Yep.
thank you so much, Martin. Thank you so much, Tan. So yep. So I will do a closing and then catch up with you guys after this.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Kevin. Thank you
All right.
all.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's it. I think we had a very long session. Like it's supposed to end at 9:45, 9:40, but we'll end up like until all the way to 10 p.m. So thank you so much for joining us all the way until end. Still, we have a lot of people actually. So good to see getting to people interacting and asking more questions. Continues, and then hope we answer all your questions, and no worries anything, and give us feedback, anything you want to collaborate or you want to be a speaker, let us know as well, let me know as well. I'll be happy to help you guys, and stay safe. Thank you so much for joining, and hopefully we can do a physical meetup soon and see you guys soon in real time soon. All right, guys, thank you, good night.